5 years after Ambassador Day's execution, the Free Alliance fleet gathered at the edge of Rex core territory. The assembled armada numbered 30,000 ships, human vessels, Taurian cruisers, Kelth battleships, and representatives from a dozen other liberated species. They surrounded the remaining 20 Vrex systems like a noose slowly tightening. Admiral Quan stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching the tactical displays. 5 years of constant warfare had aged him. His hair had gone gray at the temples and new lines marked his face. But his eyes remained sharp, focused on the final objective visible on the display, Kathos Prime, the throne world of the Vrex Empire. "Status report," Quan ordered. "All fleet groups in position," reported his tactical officer. "The Vrex have fortified their remaining worlds. Intelligence estimates 15,000 warships defending the core systems, with another 5,000 protecting Kathos Prime itself. They have pulled everything back to defend the throne world," observed Captain Yuna, now serving as Quan's chief of staff. Her burns from Freedom's Hope had healed, leaving faint scars she wore with pride. "That leaves their outer core worlds vulnerable." "Exactly what we want," Quan said. "Commence Operation Day's Vengeance. All fleet groups begin the assault." The attack began simultaneously on 16 different worlds. The Free Alliance strategy was simple but effective. Overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Human computers calculated optimal attack vectors. Allied species provided the ships and crews eager to strike back at their former oppressors. General Han commanded the ground forces preparing for planetary assaults. He had spent 2 years developing doctrine for urban warfare against Vrex defenders. His strategy emphasized minimizing civilian casualties while neutralizing military targets quickly. "Remember," Han addressed his officers via secure channel, "we are liberators, not conquerors. Any Vrex soldier who surrenders will be treated according to Alliance law. War criminals will face justice. Everyone else gets a chance at peace." The first world to fall was Vorkath, site of the shipyards that Captain Sung had sabotaged 5 years earlier. The orbital defenses were strong, but the Alliance brought stronger forces. After 18 hours of fighting, Vorkath's garrison commander surrendered rather than see his city reduced to rubble. General Han's troops landed unopposed. They found the Vrex garrison troops exhausted, undersupplied, and demoralized. Many surrendered immediately. Those who fought did so half-heartedly. The occupation took less than 3 days. "This is the model," Han reported to Admiral Quan. "Offer surrender. Promise fair treatment. Most will take it." The Vrex are not fanatics. They are scared soldiers of a dying empire. Planet after planet fell to the Alliance. The Vrex defense collapsed not from lack of weapons or ships but from lack of will. Soldiers who had spent years watching their empire shrink no longer believed in Empress Valthora's promises of victory. When offered a chance to survive, they took it. But war criminals would not escape justice. The Alliance established courts on every liberated world. Vrex officers who had committed atrocities faced trial. The proceedings were broadcast across Alliance space, transparency, not revenge. Guilty verdicts resulted in imprisonment, not execution. The Alliance wanted to demonstrate they were better than the empire they fought. Hana oversaw the intelligence operations tracking high-value targets. At the top of her list was Chancellor Yang, the military commander who had stood beside her father's execution. For 5 years she had hunted him. Now finally intelligence had located him. "Yang is on Draken 4, Hana reported to Admiral Quan. "He is commanding the defense personally. The garrison there numbers 10,000 troops heavily fortified." "Can we take it?" Quan asked. "Yes, but I have a better idea." Hana pulled up detailed building plans. "Captain Sung's team can infiltrate the command center. We capture Yang alive. He stands trial for my father's murder." Quan studied her carefully. "This is not about revenge, Hana. If Sung's team is captured, we lose our best operatives." "This is about justice," Hana replied firmly. "Yang ordered my father's death. He deserves to face a court, not die in battle as a warrior. He deserves to answer for his crimes." Captain Sung's team landed on Draken 4 under cover of a massive orbital bombardment. While Vrex defenses focused on the attacking fleet, 12 operatives in stealth suits slipped through the chaos. They had perfected this technique over 5 years of special operations. The command center was deep underground, protected by layers of security. Sung's team spent 6 hours bypassing defenses, disabling guards and working their way deeper into the facility. They encountered no major resistance. Most of the garrison was above ground fighting the Alliance landing forces. Chancellor Yong sat in his command center, watching his forces slowly lose ground. He knew the end was near. The empire that had seemed invincible 5 years ago was crumbling around him. He had advised Empress Valthora to negotiate, to seek peace. She had refused. Now here he was, about to become a prisoner of the species he had helped humiliate. "Sir, we have intruders in the facility," an aide shouted. Yong drew his sidearm. "Seal the command center. All guards to defensive positions." The door exploded inward. Flashbang grenades disoriented the command staff. When Yong's vision cleared, he found himself surrounded by human soldiers in advanced combat armor. At their head was Captain Sung, weapon trained on Yong's chest. "Chancellor Yong," Sung said in perfect Vrex language, "you are under arrest for war crimes, including the murder of Ambassador Day. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly under Alliance law." Yong looked at his sidearm, then at the humans surrounding him. He could fight and die or surrender and face trial. What would killing a few more humans accomplish? The war was already lost. He placed his weapon on the ground. "I surrender." The capture of Chancellor Yong sent shockwaves through the remaining Virex forces. If their supreme military commander could be taken alive, what hope did ordinary soldiers have? Surrender rates increased dramatically. Entire garrisons gave up without firing a shot. Hana watched the recording of Yong's capture 3 times. Unlike when she had watched her father die, she felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. Justice was coming, but it could not bring her father back. "He will stand trial," Admiral Quan told her. "A fair trial, with proper legal representation. We will prove we are better than them." "I know," Hana replied. "My father would have wanted it this way." He believed in justice, not revenge. With 15 Vrex worlds captured and Yong in custody, only one target remained, Kathos Prime. The throne world was heavily defended. 5,000 warships orbited the planet. Ground defenses were formidable. Empress Valthora had pulled every available resource back to protect her capital. Agent Jin attended the final strategy meeting, via secure channel from his position embedded with Taurian forces. "I have made contact with Vrex dissidents on Kathos Prime. There is a faction within the nobility that wants to end the war. They understand the Empire is finished. Can we trust them?" Admiral Quan asked. "They want survival," Jin replied. "Empress Valthora will fight to the last soldier. These dissidents are offering intelligence about the throne world's defenses in exchange for amnesty. They claim they can disable key defensive systems when we attack." Captain Sora, a diplomat who had risen to prominence during the war, spoke up. "This could save thousands of lives. Both ours and theirs. We should consider their offer." "It could also be a trap," Hana warned. "Everything is a trap," Quan said. "But we verify what we can. Tell the dissidents we accept their offer, but the amnesty only applies if their information proves accurate. Any betrayal, and they face the same justice as the war criminals." The siege of Kathos Prime began with a message broadcast to the planet on all frequencies. Admiral Quan's face appeared on every screen. "People of Kathos Prime," he began. "The war is over. The Vrex Empire has fallen. 16 worlds have been liberated. Your fleets are destroyed. Your armies defeated. Empress Valthora can no longer protect you." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But we do not come as conquerors. We come seeking justice and peace. Any soldier who surrenders will be treated fairly. War criminals will face trial. Everyone else has a future in the Free Alliance. Empress Valthora ordered the murder of Ambassador Day 5 years ago. She believed that execution would frighten humanity into submission. Instead, it sparked a war that toppled an empire that stood for 2,000 years. This did not have to happen, but it did, and now we all must face the consequences. You have 24 hours to surrender. After that, we attack. Choose wisely." On Kathos Prime, Empress Valthora watched the broadcast with shaking hands. 24 hours. One day to decide the fate of her species, her empire, her legacy. Chancellor Yong sat in his cell on a prison ship, also watching the broadcast. He had served the Empire faithfully for 50 years. Now he would face trial for its crimes. Part of him felt relief. The weight of command, of constant losing battles, was lifted. Hana stood beside Admiral Quan on the Bridge of Unity. In 24 hours, they would either accept Vrek's surrender or launch the final assault. Either way, her father's death would finally be answered. Justice, not revenge. That is what he would have wanted. Whatever happens tomorrow, Hana said quietly, he would be proud of what we built. Find them and destroy them. I want these humans to understand that 2 years after Ambassador Day's execution, the Vrex Empire found itself fighting battles on fronts it never expected. The humans continued their shadow war with devastating efficiency, but something new was emerging, something that terrified the Imperial leadership even more than human cunning. Agent Jin sat in a dimly lit tavern on Torath, homeworld of the Taurian species. He had been deep undercover for 16 months, living among the Taurians, earning their trust. The Taurians were shorter than humans, with blue-gray skin and large eyes adapted for their planet's dim sun. They had served the Vrex Empire for 300 years, ever since the Empire conquered their world. Across the table sat Ravik, leader of the Taurian resistance movement. The resistance had existed for decades but had never accomplished anything significant. The Vrex security forces crushed any uprising before it could begin. Until now, the weapons arrived last week, Ravik said quietly, his voice barely audible over the tavern noise. Your people delivered everything you promised. Energy rifles, armor, explosives. Equipment we could only dream of before. Jin sipped his drink. Equipment is only part of it. You need training, coordination, timing. The Vrex Empire has learned to fear human tactics. Now you will use those same tactics against them. Why are you helping us? Ravik asked. Your war is with the Vrex, not for us. Our war is for everyone under the Empire's boot, Jin replied. My people understand oppression. We remember Earth's history. Wars, slavery, empires that thought themselves invincible. They all fell eventually. The Vrex Empire will fall too, but we cannot do it alone. We need allies. We need the vassal species to stand up. Ravik leaned back. If we rise up and fail, the Vrex will exterminate us. They have done it before. They will not get the chance, Jin assured him. Human intelligence has identified every Vrex garrison on Torath. When you strike, our ships will be in orbit. The Vrex reinforcements will not arrive. You will have 3 days to secure your planet before they can respond. 3 days with human support. And after, will humanity become our new masters? Jin met his eyes steadily. We are not offering to rule you. We are offering to free you. What you do with that freedom is your choice. 3 weeks later, the Taurian uprising began exactly as planned. Resistance fighters struck Vrex garrisons simultaneously across the planet. Human weapons proved devastatingly effective against unprepared Vrex troops. Within 6 hours, the Taurians controlled their capital city. Vrex ships attempted to reach Torath but found human and allied vessels waiting. The battle was brief and decisive. The Vrex fled, leaving the Taurians in control of their homeworld for the first time in 3 centuries. The news spread across the Empire like wildfire. If the Taurians could break free, why not others? Within 3 months, the Kelth species declared independence. They were followed by the Morphidae, who seized their resource-rich moons. The Vrex Empire, stretched thin by human attacks, could not suppress all the rebellions simultaneously. Chancellor Yong urged Empress Valthora to negotiate, to offer concessions, but she refused. We will crush them all, Valthora insisted. We simply need to eliminate the humans first. Without human support, the rebellions will collapse. The humans cannot be found to eliminate, Yong argued. They strike like ghosts, and now they have allies. Real allies, not conquered vassals. Valthora's response was to order an attack on the human colony of Freedom's Hope. If the Vrex could not catch human military forces, they would make the civilians pay. Admiral Quan received the intelligence report with cold fury. A Vrex battle group was moving toward Freedom's Hope. 30 warships, more than enough to obliterate the colony. The Empire was abandoning restraint. They were going for the throat. This is what we have been preparing for, Quan told his senior staff. They are coming out to fight, finally. Hana studied the tactical displays. Their fleet is strong but isolated. If we can get the Free Alliance forces in position. The Taurians have 60 ships combat ready, reported Commander Tay. The Kelth have 40, the Morphidae 20. Combined with our forces, we can match them. More than match, Quan said with grim satisfaction. We will destroy them. Send the message to all Allied commanders. We make our stand at Freedom's Hope. The Battle of Freedom's Hope would be remembered as the turning point of the war. The Vrex fleet arrived expecting frightened colonists and minimal resistance. Instead, they found a combined force of 150 warships waiting. Captain Yuna commanded the orbital defense platforms around Freedom's Hope. As the Vrex ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, her weapons opened fire. The first salvo caught the Vrex completely by surprise, destroying 5 ships before they could raise shields. "All batteries, continuous fire," Yuna ordered. "Do not give them a moment to organize." From behind Freedom's Hope's twin moons, the Allied fleet emerged. Human ships led the attack, their weapons and tactics refined by 2 years of constant combat. Taurian vessels followed, crews eager to prove themselves in open battle. The Kelth and Morphidae flanked, cutting off the Vrex retreat. Commander June led the fighter squadrons. His pilots had trained relentlessly, developing new formations and tactics. They swarmed the Vrex capital ships like angry insects, targeting weapon systems and engines. The Vrex point defense guns could not track the swift human fighters. "Gold Squadron, focus on that cruiser's engines," June commanded. "Silver Squadron, with me on the flagship." The battle raged for 6 hours. The Vrex fought with desperate fury, but they were unprepared for the coordinated assault. Human computers predicted their movements. Taurian ships exploited the weaknesses that 3 centuries of servitude had taught them. The Kelth demonstrated surprising ferocity once freed from Imperial control. When it ended, 27 Vrex ships were destroyed. The remaining 3 fled into faster-than-light travel, heavily damaged. The Allied forces lost 14 ships, casualties but not defeat. Freedom's Hope remained safe. Admiral Kwan toured the damaged vessels after the battle. He spoke with wounded crew members, both human and Allied species. In a medical bay, he found Captain Yuna recovering from injuries sustained when her defense platform took a direct hit. "You held them off long enough for the fleet to strike," Kwan told her. "Your bravery saved the colony." "Ambassador Day saved the colony," Yuna replied, wincing as medics treated her burns. "His death woke us up, made us realize what we were fighting for." On Kathos Prime, the loss at Freedom's Hope sent shockwaves through the Imperial court. For the first time in centuries, the Vrex Empire had suffered a major defeat. Not a guerrilla attack or sabotage, but an actual fleet engagement. The supposedly invincible Imperial Navy had been beaten. Chancellor Yang presented the casualty reports to Empress Valthora privately. Her 4 eyes narrowed as she read the figures. "How?" she demanded. "How did primitive humans and slave species defeat a Vrex battle group?" "They fought together," Yang said simply. "Perfect coordination. No hesitation. They fought like they had nothing to lose." "Then we make them lose everything," Valthora hissed. "Mobilize the 3rd and 5th fleets. I want every human world burned. Every allied species crushed. We will show them the price of defiance. Your Majesty, that will require pulling ships from the core systems. It will leave us vulnerable." "Do it!" Valthora screamed. "I will not be humiliated by primitives. I will not watch my empire crumble because of one dead diplomat." But the damage was already done. The Free Alliance had proven that the Vrex could be beaten. Every vassal species in the Empire saw the recordings of Freedom's Hope. They saw humans and Taurians and Kelth and Morphidae fighting side by side. They saw the Vrex running. On 17 different worlds, new uprisings began. The Empire's security forces were spread impossibly thin. Every day brought news of another planet in revolt, another garrison overrun, another victory for the Free Alliance. Agent Jin continued his work, now traveling between liberated worlds. He trained resistance fighters, shared human intelligence, and helped coordinate the growing alliance. Everywhere he went, the Taurians told stories about him, the ghost who freed us, they called him. In a strategy meeting with Ravik and other resistance leaders, Jin presented Hana's latest intelligence assessment. "The Empire is breaking," Jin told them. "They have pulled so many ships back to defensive positions that their offensive capability is crippled. Now we take the fight to their core systems." "Attack the Empire's heart?" Ravik asked, surprised. "We do not have the strength, not yet," Jin agreed. "But we are building it. Every day, more ships join the Alliance. Every week, more species find their courage. The Vrex Empire took centuries to build. We will tear it down in years." Captain Sung's Special Forces teams continued their sabotage operations, but now they had help. Liberated species provided intelligence, safe houses, and local support. What had been nearly impossible operations 2 years ago now succeeded with increasing regularity. Dr. Mina's cyber warfare had evolved from simple viruses to complete network infiltration. She could read Vrex military communications in real time, giving the Alliance an enormous advantage. The Empire knew they were compromised but could not find the source of the breaches. Hana coordinated the overall strategy from Earth Command, but increasingly she worked directly with allied species commanders. The Earth Council chamber was built deep beneath the surface of Geneva, protected by 300 meters of reinforced concrete and steel. 70 representatives from every human colony and station sat in a circular arrangement, their faces grim. Above them, holographic displays showed Ambassador Day's execution on repeat. No one had asked for it to stop. They needed to remember. They needed the anger. Admiral Kwan stood at the center podium. His uniform was crisp despite the emergency summons that had pulled him from Mars Command. Beside him, Hana waited her turn to speak. Her eyes were dry now, but red from earlier tears. She had been given 30 minutes to prepare her presentation. 30 minutes to turn grief into strategy. "We cannot win a conventional war," Kwan stated flatly. "The Vrex Empire has 25 times our fleet strength. Their economy is 100 times larger. Their industrial capacity dwarfs ours. If we meet them in direct combat, we lose. Humanity becomes extinct or enslaved within a year." President Rena, elected leader of United Earth, leaned forward. "Then what do you propose, Admiral?" "We cannot ignore this murder. The people demand justice, and we give them justice," Kwan replied. "But we fight smart. We fight human." He gestured to Hana. "Lieutenant Commander Hana has developed a comprehensive strategy. I recommend we listen." Hana stepped forward. Her hands trembled slightly as she activated the holographic display. Her father's face appeared, then faded, replaced by star charts and tactical projections. "The Vrex Empire expects a conventional response," Hana began. Her voice grew stronger with each word. "They expect us to mass our fleets and attack their border worlds. They expect us to fight the way they fight. We will not do that." She pulled up an image of the Vrex homeworld. "Instead, we wage asymmetric warfare. We target their infrastructure, their supply lines, their confidence. We make them bleed from 1,000 cuts. We turn their size against them. A large empire is difficult to defend everywhere at once." Council Member Park from New Sol Colony spoke up. "You are suggesting terrorism." "I am suggesting war," Hana corrected coldly. "Terrorism targets civilians. We will target only military and industrial assets. But yes, we will use sabotage, cyber warfare, and guerrilla tactics. We will use every advantage we have." "What advantages?" another council member asked skeptically. "They outmatch us in every way." "Not every way," Kwan interjected. "Our computer systems are more advanced. Our encryption is unbreakable by their standards. Our special operations forces are trained for exactly this type of conflict. And we have one thing they do not: motivation. Every human knows what is at stake. Every human watched Ambassador Day die. Unity like this cannot be bought or forced. It is earned through shared sacrifice." Hana continued her briefing. "Phase 1 begins immediately. Captain Sung will lead a strike team to the Vorkath shipyards. Intelligence indicates 3 major capital ships under construction. We destroy them before completion." "How?" President Rena asked. "We insert a team disguised as Taurian workers. The Taurians are a slave species within the Empire. The Vrex barely look at them. Our people have been preparing for this, learning Taurian language, culture, and appearance modification techniques. They will sabotage the ships from within, then escape in the chaos." Another hologram appeared. "Phase 2 is cyber warfare. Dr. Mina has developed a virus specifically designed to corrupt Vrex logistics networks. Their military runs on computerized supply chains. We shut down those chains. Their fleets cannot refuel or resupply." "How long before the Vrex adapt?" a council member questioned. "Weeks, maybe months." Mina spoke from her position in the chamber. "Their computer science is decades behind ours. By the time they understand what we have done, half their navy will be stranded without fuel or ammunition." Hana's display shifted to show convoy routes. Phase 3. Commander Tay leads fast attack groups against isolated supply convoys. We have already identified 73 targets. Hit and run. Never engage their main fleets. Make them chase ghosts. The council chamber buzzed with conversation. This was not the war they had expected. This was cold, calculated, and utterly ruthless. "If we do this," President Rena said slowly, "we cross a line. We become something different. Something harder." "They crossed the line when they murdered my father," Hana said quietly. "They crossed it when they broadcast his execution as entertainment." This is not about who we want to be. This is about survival. Admiral Kwan placed a hand on Hana's shoulder. We can debate morality after we secure humanity's future. Right now, we vote. Do we authorize this strategy? The vote was unanimous. 3 weeks later, Captain Sung crouched in the maintenance tunnel beneath Vorkath Shipyard 3. His team of 8 moved silently through the narrow passage. Each operative wore Taurian appearance modifications, facial prosthetics, skin dye, contact lenses. They had spent 6 months learning to move like Taurians, to speak like them, to think like them. The shipyard stretched for kilometers above them. 3 massive battleships floated in construction cradles, each one 3 kilometers long. When completed, they would add devastating firepower to the Virex fleet. Sung intended to ensure they never launched. Team 2, status? He whispered into his communicator. In position, replied Team 2 leader. Charges set on Ship 2. Team 3, charges placed. Ready to blow. Sung checked his own team's work. 20 fusion charges positioned along the primary support columns of Ship 1's construction cradle. When they detonated, the unfinished vessel would collapse into the shipyard below, causing catastrophic damage. All teams, this is Team 1 leader, Sung transmitted. 30 seconds to detonation. Exfiltration routes confirmed. May Ambassador Day watch over us for Day. His team replied in unison. The charges detonated simultaneously. The explosions were carefully calculated. Not large enough to destroy the ships completely, but precise enough to cripple the support structures. Ship 1 tilted slowly, then faster, crashing down into the assembly facility below. The cascade effect was spectacular. Secondary explosions tore through the shipyard as fuel stores and ammunition ignited. Sung's team ran through the chaos. Alarms screamed. Frex guards rushed toward the disaster, ignoring the Taurian workers fleeing in panic. Within 10 minutes, Sung and his people were aboard their hidden ship, breaking orbit before anyone realized this was sabotage. Similar strikes occurred across the Empire. 12 major facilities damaged or destroyed in a single coordinated operation. The Virex lost 16 capital ships, 30 cruisers, and hundreds of smaller vessels, all before they could even be completed. Empress Valthora received the reports in her private chamber. Chancellor Yong stood before her, his expression dark. This was the humans, Yong stated. It must be. How? Valthora demanded. They lack the capability for such coordinated strikes. Our intelligence assured us they were still reeling from the ambassador's death. Our intelligence was wrong, Yong admitted. They are not reeling. They are attacking. Dr. Mina watched her virus spread through Vrex networks from her secure facility on Europa. The code was elegant, nearly artistic. It did not crash systems, that would be too obvious. Instead, it subtly corrupted data. Fuel shipments arrived at wrong locations. Ammunition orders were delayed or duplicated. Supply manifest became unreliable. Within 3 weeks, the Virex military logistics network was in chaos. Ships ran out of fuel mid-patrol. Ammunition stockpiles dwindled. Food supplies for military bases arrived spoiled or not at all. The virus is active in 70% of their primary networks, Mina reported to Admiral Kwan via secure channel. They are trying to purge it, but each purge just spreads it further. The code learns from their countermeasures. Excellent work, Doctor. How long before they realize they need to rebuild from scratch? 2 months minimum. By then we will have Phase 4 ready. Commander Tay's task force struck convoy after convoy. His ships were fast, equipped with advanced engines that pushed human technology to its limits. They appeared from nowhere, destroyed their targets, and vanished before Vrex reinforcements arrived. In 6 weeks, Tay's group destroyed 93 supply convoys. Thousands of tons of military supplies lost. The Vrex Navy began diverting warships to escort duty, weakening their offensive capabilities. Hana coordinated everything from Earth Command. Sleep became a luxury she could rarely afford. Every day brought new intelligence, new targets, new opportunities. She studied Vrex behavior patterns, predicted their responses, and planned 3 steps ahead. They are starting to panic, she told Admiral Kwan during a briefing. Their military doctrine has not changed in centuries. They do not know how to fight this kind of war. Neither did we 6 months ago, Kwan replied. You taught us. Your father would be proud. Hana allowed herself a small smile. He always said the best diplomacy required understanding your opponent. I understand the Vrex perfectly now, and I know exactly how to hurt them. The Shadow War had begun. Humanity had struck the first blows. But this was only the beginning. The Empire would respond with overwhelming force. The question was whether humanity could survive long enough to bleed them dry. On Cathos Prime, Empress Valthora stared at casualty reports with growing unease. The humans were supposed to be primitive, weak, easy to crush. Instead, they were ghosts, shadows, impossibly elusive. Find them, she commanded Chancellor Yang. The throne room of Cathos Prime stretched before Ambassador Day like a cathedral of alien architecture. Crystal columns reached toward the domed ceiling, each one glowing with soft purple light. The floor beneath his feet was smooth black stone, polished to mirror perfection. He could see his reflection staring back at him, a middle-aged human in formal diplomatic robes. Standing alone before the might of an empire, Empress Valthora sat upon her throne, elevated high above the chamber floor. Her form was humanoid but distinctly alien. Silver skin caught the light and her 4 eyes tracked Day's every movement. Behind her, the Imperial Guard stood in perfect formation, 200 warriors in crimson armor, weapons gleaming. The throne room held thousands of Rex nobles, all watching the human with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. Day had been summoned 3 hours ago. No explanation. No warning, just armed guards at his residence and a swift transport to the palace. In his 3 years serving as Earth's ambassador to the Vrex Empire, he had learned to read the subtle signs of imperial displeasure. This felt different. This felt final. Ambassador Day of Earth. Valthora's voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by hidden speakers. You have been called to answer for humanity's insolence. Day kept his posture straight, his hands clasped behind his back. His daughter Hana had taught him that gesture during his diplomatic training. Project Calm, she had said. Never let them see fear. I serve at the pleasure of both our peoples, Your Majesty, Day replied. His voice carried through the vast space without amplification. What insolence do you speak of? Valthora gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the air. 3 planets rotated slowly, each marked with human settlements. Nusol, Prosperity Station, Freedom's Hope. The human colonies on the edge of Vrex space. These worlds, Valthora declared, lie within territory claimed by the Vrex Empire for 2,000 years. Your species arrived 80 years ago and seized what is ours. We demand their immediate surrender. Murmurs rippled through the assembled nobles. Day had expected this conversation, but not here, not like this. Trade negotiations had been progressing well. Relations between humanity and the Empire had been improving, or so he thought. Your Majesty, those worlds were uninhabited when our colony ships arrived. We followed all established protocols for new settlements. The Virex Empire acknowledged our right to those systems in the Treaty of Silence. Chancellor Yang stepped forward from his position beside the throne. He was massive even by Vrex standards, his military decorations glinting across his chest. The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species. We permit you to exist in our galaxy. We can revoke that permission. Day felt his heart rate increase but kept his expression neutral. This was not a negotiation. This was theater. He was a prop in some larger game of imperial politics. I understand the Empire's strength, Day said carefully, but humanity values those colonies. They are home to 3 million people, families, children. We cannot simply abandon them. Cannot. Valthora leaned forward. Or will not. Both, Your Majesty. The throne room fell silent. Several nobles gasped at Day's audacity. Chancellor Yang's hand moved to his weapon. But Day stood firm. There were lines even diplomacy could not cross. He would not condemn millions to Vrex occupation, knowing what that meant. The Empire treated its subject species as slaves in all but name. Valthora studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a predatory expression that made Day's blood run cold. You are brave for such a primitive creature, she said. Tell me, Ambassador, does your species value honor? We do, Your Majesty. Then you will appreciate the honor we bestow upon you today. You will serve as an example, a lesson to all who would defy the Vrex Empire. Day understood then. He was never leaving this throne room alive. Guards, Valthora commanded. Prepare the broadcast. Let the entire Empire watch. Let every species under our domain witness what happens to those who refuse our will. The Imperial Guard moved with practiced efficiency. Camera drones floated into position. Day was seized by 4 guards and forced to his knees. His diplomat's robes were torn away, leaving him in simple clothes. The ritual humiliation of the condemned. Chancellor Yang descended from the dais, drawing an ornate blade. "Any final words, human?" Day looked directly into the camera drones. Somewhere far away, the broadcast was going live across 200 star systems. Billions would watch this moment. On Earth, in humanity's scattered colonies, they would see their ambassador about to die. He thought of Hana, his brilliant daughter, serving in Earth's defense forces. He thought of his wife, passed away 5 years ago. He thought of the millions of humans across the galaxy who had trusted him to protect them. "You have made a terrible mistake," Day said clearly. His voice did not shake. "Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. You think executing me will frighten my people into submission, but you do not understand us. You have never understood us," Valthora laughed. The nobles joined her, a chorus of mocking amusement echoing through the throne room. "We have 50,000 warships," Valthora said. "Your species has what? 2,000 less? What can you possibly do to threaten us?" "You will find out," Day replied. "My people are patient. We are persistent. We are creative. You see us as primitive, as weak. That is your mistake. That will be your downfall." "Enough," Chancellor Yang growled. He raised the blade high. Day closed his eyes. He thought of Earth's blue skies, of Hana's laughter, of humanity's spirit, that stubborn, impossible refusal to yield that had carried his species from stone tools to the stars. The blade fell. Across the galaxy, billions watched Ambassador Day's execution. The Vrex nobles celebrated. The subject species remained silent, fearful of attracting similar attention. And among humanity's scattered colonies and stations, 300 billion people witnessed their ambassador die with dignity. In a command center orbiting Mars, Admiral Kwan watched the broadcast with cold fury. Around him, senior officers stood in stunned silence. When the transmission ended, Kwan turned to his staff. "Contact Earth Council," he said quietly. "Tell them we need to convene immediately. And someone find Hana. She needs to hear this from us, not from the news." On Kathos Prime, Empress Valthora dismissed her court. The execution had served its purpose. The primitives would learn their place or they would be destroyed. She gave no more thought to Ambassador Day. She would come to regret that oversight. Far away on Earth, in a small intelligence office, Hana received the news. She watched the recording of her father's final moments 3 times. Each viewing hardened something deep inside her. By the 3rd viewing, the tears had stopped. "You were right, Father," she whispered to the empty room. "They made a terrible mistake." She opened a secure channel to her supervisor. "I need to speak with Admiral Kwan. I have a proposal. A war plan. The Vrex Empire had 50,000 warships. They had territory, resources, and the confidence of 2,000 years of dominance. They believed they were invincible. Humanity had something else, something the Empire could never understand, could never predict, could never defeat. Humanity had nothing left to lose." The 24 hours passed in tense silence. Empress Valthora gave no response to Admiral Kwan's surrender demand. Instead, she appeared on Imperial broadcasts, standing in her throne room defiant. "The Vrex Empire has endured for 2,000 years, she declared. "We will not surrender to primitives and slaves. Let them come. Let them see what it means to face true Imperial power. We will fight to the last breath, to the last ship, to the last soldier." Behind her, the Imperial Guard stood in formation, their crimson armor gleaming. But those who looked closely could see the fear in their eyes. They knew what was coming. On the Bridge of Unity, Admiral Kwan received Valthora's response without surprise. "She chooses death over surrender, so be it. All fleet groups begin the attack. Rules of engagement remain. Minimize civilian casualties, offer surrender at every opportunity. But do not hesitate to defend yourselves." The Battle of Kathos Prime began with a coordinated assault from 6 different vectors. 30,000 Alliance ships against 5,000 Vrex defenders. The numbers told the story before the first shot was fired. Commander June led the fighter squadrons in the opening strike. His pilots had 5 years of combat experience now, veterans of 100 battles. They swept through the Vrex defensive positions like a storm, targeting weapons platforms and shield generators. "Gold Squadron, target those orbital cannons," June ordered. "Silver Squadron, suppression fire on that battle station. Do not let them get organized." The Vrex forces fought with desperate courage. They knew they were doomed, but they fought anyway. Some for loyalty, some for fear of what surrender meant, some simply because it was all they knew how to do. Captain Yuna coordinated the capital ship assault. The massive Alliance battleships, built with technology from a dozen different species, hammered the Vrex defenses. Shield after shield collapsed under the sustained bombardment. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," reported Unity's communications officer. "It is coming from the Vrex dissident faction." "Put it through," Quan ordered. A Vrex noble appeared on screen, his expression nervous. "Admiral, we are prepared to fulfill our agreement. The primary shield generators for the Imperial Palace are about to experience catastrophic failures. You will have a 3-minute window." "If this is a trap," Hana began. "It is not," the noble interrupted. "We are tired of dying for Valthora's pride. Our species deserves a future. We are disabling the shields now." True to his word, sensors detected the palace shields fluctuating and then failing. Admiral Quan immediately dispatched General Han's assault teams. Dropships screamed through the atmosphere, protected by fighter escorts. They landed in the palace grounds within 90 seconds. General Han led his troops through the palace corridors. Resistance was fierce but disorganized. Some Imperial Guard fought to the death. Others, seeing the situation was hopeless, surrendered. Han's rules of engagement were clear. Anyone who dropped their weapon was spared. The advance toward the throne room took 2 hours of intense urban combat. Han lost 30 soldiers killed and hundreds wounded, but his forces prevailed through superior tactics and overwhelming numbers. Finally, they breached the throne room doors. Empress Valthora sat on her throne, surrounded by the last of her personal guard. 100 warriors in crimson armor, weapons drawn, ready for a final stand. "Empress Valthora," General Han called out, his voice amplified. "The battle is over. Your fleet is destroyed. Your palace is captured. Surrender now and you will receive a fair trial. Continue fighting and you will die here." Valthora stood slowly. Her 4 eyes surveyed the human soldiers surrounding her. She had watched humanity for 5 years, dismissing them as primitive even as they dismantled her empire. Now here they were in her throne room, offering mercy she would never have granted. "You expect me to surrender?" Valthora asked. "To stand trial before a court of lesser species? To beg for my life? We expect you to face justice for your crimes," Han replied. "You ordered the execution of Ambassador Day. You started a war that killed millions. You are responsible for atrocities across 200 worlds. These crimes demand answers. I am Empress of the Vrex," Valthora shouted. "I do not answer to anyone." "You are not Empress of anything anymore," Han said quietly. "Your empire is gone. Your worlds are free. Your people are defeated. All that remains is whether you face a court or die in this room. Choose." For a long moment, Valthora stood frozen. Pride warred with survival. Finally, she gestured to her guards. "Stand down. We surrender." The Imperial Guard lowered their weapons. General Han's troops moved forward carefully, securing the prisoners. Valthora was placed in restraints, her expression one of shock. She had never truly believed this moment would come. Hana watched the arrest from Unity's bridge. The woman who ordered her father's death was now a prisoner. 5 years of war, millions of casualties, an empire toppled, all from one execution. "It is over," Admiral Quan said softly. "The war is over." Captain Sung entered the throne room with his Special Forces team. He had recovered from wounds sustained during the battle. Seeing Valthora in chains gave him no pleasure, only a sense of completion. The mission that began with Day's death was finally finished. 3 months later, the trials began. The Alliance established a special court on Kathos Prime, now renamed Unity Station. Judges from 15 different species presided. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy. Transparency and justice. Chancellor Yong was tried first. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Recordings of his involvement in Day's execution. Testimony from survivors of massacres he ordered. Documents bearing his signature authorizing war crimes. Hana attended every day of his trial. She sat in the gallery, watching the man who stood beside her father's killer face questions from the judges. Yong did not deny his crimes. He sat silently as the evidence mounted. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" the lead judge asked. Yong stood. "I followed orders. I served my empire. I did what I believed was necessary. But I also know that following orders does not excuse atrocities. I am guilty of the crimes you accuse me of. I do not ask for mercy. I accept whatever judgment you pronounce. The court found Chancellor Yang guilty on all counts. The sentence was life imprisonment. He was led away in silence, his military decorations stripped, his legacy destroyed. Empress Valthora's trial lasted longer. She refused to cooperate, claiming the court had no authority over her. The judges patiently documented every crime, every atrocity ordered in her name. The evidence was damning. Hana was called to testify. She stood before the court and described watching her father's execution. Her voice remained steady, professional, but everyone in the courtroom felt the weight of her words. Ambassador Day went to Kathos Prime to negotiate peace, Hana testified. He believed in diplomacy, in finding common ground. Empress Valthora executed him not because he committed a crime, but because she wanted to make an example. She wanted to frighten humanity into submission. Hana looked directly at Valthora. She succeeded in uniting humanity, but not in the way she intended. My father's death showed us what we were fighting against: tyranny, cruelty, and the belief that might makes right. Everything we accomplished in this war we did in his memory. Every life saved, every species freed, every victory won. All of it because she made the mistake of killing a diplomat who came in peace. The court found Valthora guilty of genocide, war crimes, crimes against sapient species, and the murder of Ambassador Day. The sentence was life imprisonment without possibility of release. Valthora was led from the court in chains. She had ruled an empire of 200 worlds. Now she would spend the rest of her life in a cell, watching the galaxy she tried to dominate rebuild without her. Admiral Quan addressed the Free Alliance Council after the trials concluded. Justice has been served. Yang, Valthora, and 3,000 other war criminals are imprisoned. But thousands more of Rex soldiers and officials have been pardoned. They surrendered honorably. They deserved the chance to rebuild their lives. Captain Sora had been working on integration plans. We are establishing programs to help former VREX citizens join the Alliance. Education, job training, cultural exchange. Some will resist, but many are ready to move forward. The former VREX worlds slowly transitioned to Alliance governance. Free elections were held. Local leaders emerged. The process was messy and complicated, but it was peaceful. That alone was a miracle after 5 years of war. On what was once the throne world of an empire, species from across the galaxy gathered. The Free Alliance had grown from a desperate coalition into something real and lasting. But challenges remained. The Alliance needed structure, leadership, and a path forward. Agent Jin returned to Earth after years undercover. He met with Admiral Quan in person for the first time. The liberated species are asking difficult questions. Who leads the Alliance? How do we prevent another empire from rising? What comes next? Good questions, Quan replied. We need answers. The Council is debating these issues now. Dr. Mina had shifted from cyber warfare to helping rebuild communications networks. Commander Tay was training Alliance defense forces. Captain Sung joined General Han in developing peacekeeping doctrines. Captain Yuna was designing new starships that incorporated technology from a dozen species. Everywhere, people who had fought a war were